I'm putting Mark Robbins, Coventry City, Governor, Gaffer, in the hot seat. Okay, opening day, not great. Spent a lot of money. I know they got a lot of money, but they spent a lot of money on Sims. They spent a lot of money on Haji Wright, American international striker. So there's a lot. They've invested to go for it this season. Haji Wright is not here to play League One football, as is Ellis Sims. He thinks he's probably better than the Championship. Yet another, the EFL's finest podcast. We are back for match number 2. Match number 1 is now done and dusted. I'm joined by, of course, Jacob. He is with me right here, right now. You're right there. I can see you right there. Of course, final whistle's done and dusted again, guys. Make sure you subscribe, thumbs up, hit the little bell. We are going to be everywhere. We should be on Spotify this week. And all that kind of stuff. So, Jacob, how was match number 1 from your point of view? First as a Rovers fan, but maybe as a Championship fan. How was the opening day in your eyes?
As a Rovers fan, made up really. Couldn't have asked for much more against quite a game West Brom side. A West Brom side you expect will be in and around the playoffs come the end of the season. Obviously got a good manager and whatnot. I think, as you mentioned last week, I think it was probably the right time to play him with them missing DK up front. But equally, obviously, we were missing Sam Gallagher, or if we bring in another striker, we were missing that up front. But the young lads did the business, Marconde and Harry Leonard. So really good win there. And then obviously some interesting results in the Championship. QPR getting an absolute tonking at Vicarage Road, being probably the main one, and then obviously Stoke beating Rotherham 4-1, wasn't it? So some big results there. I thought they'd be your Leeds and your Southamptons maybe getting those results, but it wasn't. It was some of the more familiar names.
Yeah, there was some clangers and some belters as well, and we'll elaborate on that. But yeah, some cracking results and some interesting scorelines, which we both had our attempt at predicting them, and hopefully you will remember some of these from last time out. So let's go through them one by one and maybe highlight some surprises or some expected results. Let's start, of course, the first one. All eyes were on it. It was Sheffield Wednesday, Southampton. Final score was a 2-1 win for Southampton. Both you and I kind of didn't get that one right, but it was all on the TV. Everyone was watching this. Did you manage to catch that game while it was on TV, or did were you preoccupied elsewhere?
I was preoccupied, unfortunately, but heard a lot of things. Obviously Armstrong kind of scabbed himself a goal as he does off Teller, and then obviously Che Adams as well gets another one, and then Sheffield Wednesday scored from a corner, which is probably looking like, from the stats that come out from that game, is probably the only way you're going to be scoring against this Southampton side, you would feel. They're just not going to let you have the ball at all. And in the injury time, when it was 9 minutes or something, I don't think Sheffield Wednesday touched the ball once, apparently. So
It was a rude awakening to the new time clock, the new procedures that are going to be in the Championship with longer injury time, and I guess I think Che Adams' goal was in that stoppage time or just before. Either way, that was the opening game, and then of course you were at the next one at Ewood Park. Of course, Rovers, fantastic result on paper in my eyes. I think I was worried about this game. I thought I was confident Rovers could get something, but I was a little bit cautious for that opening day pick. But you got it pretty close to the money. You got the scoreline or the result right in regards to Rovers' victory. But how we did see your vlogs out there. Again, if you haven't checked out Jacob's vlog, check it out. But performance-wise, in summary, what was your opinion of Rovers' opening day?
I think the back line picked up where they left off, looking as solid as ever. Dom Iron doing what Dom Iron does, putting a man of the match performance as usual, really. Thought the midfield looked strong. I think Sondre put in a good performance. Travis kept his head after an early booking. and just some really nice football being played at times. Leonard could have quite easily had a couple more, and we frustrated West Brom really to not many chances at all, other than the goal. I mean, there was maybe one other chance really. I mean, I've just seen a clip of Rankin Costello's tackle. What would have been a sitter really for West Brom if he hadn't made that tackle. So yeah, I think as I said in my thoughts after the game on the vlog, I don't think many West Brom fans could complain with the result personally.
Yeah, it was a little nervy in my eyes watching that game back, but I'm elated with the performance. I think getting off to a win first game does the wheels of momentum good. Again, got Carabao Cup game this midweek, and also a winnable game against Rotherham. But we'll talk all about that later. So yeah, great start for Rovers. What about the nearest and dearest Preston? They got themselves, where's my mouse on this one? They got themselves a cheeky result against Bristol City. Again, something you got right, actually. Look at that. You're on fire right now. A couple of results. So I'm a little bit worried about our weekly picks, which we'll review that as well in a second. But a draw. Any surprises with that result?
No, I mean Preston a decent side, aren't they? I was tempted to go for a Bristol win just because they have got a bit of hype around them coming into this season with Alex Scott and whatnot. They signed that lad from Derby as well, the Irish lad, haven't they? They could be dark horses this season, but I don't know. Obviously, they just always flatter to deceive a little bit to Bristol, don't they? But yeah, pretty routine 1-1, I would say.
Probably I'd say the shock of the weekend really is that Riverside with Middlesbrough losing to Millwall. Goodness gracious me, 1-0 win for Millwall on the road. Big away day, long way to travel as well for Millwall. Both of us backing Carrick's boys. I even saw a clip of Duncan Watmore being substituted. He was walking to the wrong bench. He's thinking he was still playing for Middlesbrough. And there's and then he went over to the Millwall side. I thought it was quite funny. But a good result for Millwall. You know, can they be contenders this season for playoffs once again?
I think they'll always be there or thereabouts. Millwall, they're obviously a strong outfit, aren't they? Usually, obviously, getting the results at the Den, but if they can start to pick more points up on the road, whereas usually they would, hold out for a draw. I remember not last season, the season before, they were in the mix as they are, and they come to Ewood and they just sat behind the ball the entire game and just played for the draw really, and it ended 0-0. Horrible game to watch, but they can start putting more performances like this against, a team that's definitely pushing for automatics, you would feel this season, then there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't make playoffs. I think maybe there's still a bit of hangover with Middlesbrough after last season because they did have a bit of a bad patch of form, didn't they, coming towards the end? Got bad form at the wrong time, really, for them.
Yep. 1 second here. I've got to bring this up. Make sure I didn't get on the screen. We can add some stuff, some scorers. I don't know who scored. All right, we'll kick on. Teething problems. All right, let's kick on forward then. Of course, Norwich City against Hull City. Norwich leaving it late against Hull City, picking up a 2-1 win. Both of you and I opted for the Canaries to pick up a result. What about Hull? Liam Delap scoring goals, cheeky little loan signing. I think it's a loan signing. And they also brought in Aaron Connolly, I think, Hull. So they'll have a nice little tasty little strike force once they get going. But left it late. Norwich, 96 minutes. Adabadar with the winner. Are they in safe hands, Norwich City?
I mean, it's a big unknown. I think they are personally. I think Wagner's a good manager, but I guess we'll have to see. I'm not sure how much of a test Hull is, even though every season it seems they always get pushed for the dark horses now after the new ownership, the Turkish ownership coming in. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like you mentioned there, they've got a couple of good players. Connolly's a good player at this level, and Delap should definitely be one to watch out for. But yeah, I mean, at home for Norwich, it's probably a result obviously we expected. So pretty routine.
Routine. I think it was a bit of a stuttered start for Plymouth. They actually made a game of it in the end. 3-1 it was for Plymouth Argyle with new signing Whitaker amongst the scorers. Actually opened up the scoring there. But you opted for the draw on that one. I did go for the win, so a little bit of brownie points my way. Plymouth. That's going to be a tough place to go. And Huddersfield already feeling the pinch from back into last season, start this season with a loss. Could be a long season for Warnock, or a short one, maybe.
Well, potentially. I mean, obviously it's a hell of a long way to travel, and as I mentioned rather last time around, it's one of the games Plymouth would be looking at and thinking we have to take 3 points here. These are the teams they've got to take points from, and they'll probably. I personally think they'll be at the lower end of the table, so they had to get the 3 points, and they've done just that. I mean, obviously Huddersfield's transfer business has been a bit poor, hasn't it? So maybe they can get some more signings in the next month and save a season. Really, I mean, it's not looking good at the minute when you're travelling down to Plymouth and getting tonked 3-1. I mean, it's not very Warnock at all, really. That.
No. They might have a busy end to the window. You never know. I guess with the recent investment as well to that club, so we might see a different Huddersfield or not. Again, one of the performances of the opening day was, of course, at Vicarage Road, and Gareth Ainsworth already maybe feeling a bit of the pinch, but both of us again backing the victory for Watford. Both of us being a little bit more conservative with the prediction, but 4-0. Valerie Ishmael's boys, they could be a threat already. I know it's early days, but they, if they can buy into the system and open up and continue to perform like this, they could be one of the bigger boys.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I'd look into this result personally. I'm not sure if from that result anyway. I'm not sure if the players are playing for Ainsworth. To be honest, I think that's. I mean, they were. When they 3-4-0 down at half time, weren't it? It's just not shocking, really, inexcusable. I mean, obviously, I'm surprised at the scoreline for Watford, considering they've lost Sarr, they've lost João Pedro. But equally, obviously, I did think they'd win, but I'm just shocked by the scoreline, losing that quality up front. But yeah, I'm not sure. Judging by this, and obviously we'll get onto it later, I'm not sure how long Ainsworth will be sticking about, because if you're going in at half time 3-4-0 down, it's just writing's on the wall, isn't it?
Yeah, it might just be. Another performance of the weekend was at the Bet365 with Stoke tonking Rotherham, and the man sent off, which could work in our favour for next weekend. But 4-1 win. Both of us backing a 2-0, so not too shabby there. Alex Neil could prove a few people wrong this season and could drag the Potters up there. Are they serious contenders for the playoffs from judging from this early performance?
I think similar thoughts really to what I've just said about Watford. I think Rotherham will be down there. Obviously they only had 10 men as well, which obviously doesn't help. And to be fair, Stoke do usually perform at home. Obviously we saw that last season when we went there and were 3-0 down, weren't we? But yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, it's such a weird one with Stoke. I think people have given up on predicting they're going to make the playoffs because they just never seem to and languish in the mid-table. But I mean, it's a good first result. But again, I'm not sure how much I'd look into it with it being Rotherham and having 10 men.
Yeah, and one of the new strikers getting a couple goals either side of halftime, I think. Both are quoted here, 45th minute. So he's up and running. Also up and running is Jerry Yates, of course, from Swansea City now getting I think it was an equaliser. Dembele, another player potentially that I guess some Rovers fans were hoping we'd sign him before we made the switch to Birmingham. Of course, new regime for Swansea, new owners for Birmingham. It kind of worked itself out in the wash there. 1-1 draw. Where are Birmingham in your eyes right now on the Jacob Ward indicator? Are they going to be floating towards top, bottom? Don't know. It is very early.
Yeah, I think mid-table personally for Birmingham. I think that's just always where they seem to end up. I think Siriki Dembele is a really good signing. I definitely would have had him, and I wish we could have got him instead of him going to Bournemouth. He would have helped a lot, definitely, that season. But he should be one of the better players in this league. I mentioned last week, but when he comes to Ewood with Peterborough, really impressed me. And not many players stand out really from the opposition when they come, but he really did. Didn't know who the lad was, but yeah, he's always stuck in my head since that game. But I think Birmingham will be mid-table, as they always are.
Yeah, it's a Sunday's games now. Of course, the final whistle still ringing in our ears for the Sunderland game. But Leicester, they left it late a little bit on that one. Dewsbury Hall with a couple of goals there, a couple of watching on Twitter or looking around on Twitter. A lot of Premier League clubs would like to have him at their club. So I don't know how long or if Leicester could keep a hold of him. Coventry, heavy investment on strikers, both of them, one at least started. I guess a few people were commenting on his performance online. And so bigger boys, Leicester, opening up with a win, but left it late. Should they be worried, Leicester?
No, I mean, obviously, it's a bit of a grudge match between the two. So it was always going to be a well-contested game, you would feel. Obviously, if they lose Dewsbury, all that is going to be a big blow. When he was in the Championship last with Luton on loan there, he was a quality player at this level and is too good for the Championship, you feel. I think they've got the quality, though, in depth, haven't they? The likes of Vardy and whatnot are going to be sticking about. With Coventry, obviously, I don't think it's time to panic, but obviously, spent a fair bit of money, so they've rolled the dice really this season, and they kind of have to at least make the playoffs. You feel with the money they've spent this season.
You might have taken the words out of my mouth a little bit later on, but we'll get there. Of course, another new big boy, Leeds United, again left it late. Very, very late. 2-2 draw in the end. Previously, we both predicted the win for Leicester, but both of you and I predicted Leeds United wins. 2-2 in the end. Two new boys for Cardiff on the score sheet. Josh Bowler, another one that kind of stings a little bit. He could have been playing for us. And Ike Ubo, a striker that I think also was linked with us for a little bit. But both of those guys up and running. And then a couple of a very late goal by Somerville for Leeds to give a share of the points. 2-2. What about Cardiff? The debut manager there, unknown, very big unknown, and bringing in a few attacking players. And I think I have them low in the totem pole in my eyes for the season, but not a bad opening day performance to get a result at Ellen Road.
No, definitely not. I mean, Ellen Road is definitely a fortress, isn't it? And just seeing they've made some good, astute signings. I mean, Josh Bowler's definitely one who I think could do well this season. I know the lads over at the Championship, second tier one, they've wrote him off, but I think he's quality at this level personally, Bowler, and showed that in quite a poor Blackpool side. So obviously good for him to get off the mark. But yeah, surprised by Leeds. I went big with my prediction. I thought we'd get at least one big game in terms of scorelines, and we obviously ended up with two, didn't we? But I thought it would be this one, and maybe underestimated Cardiff a little bit.
Yeah, you and I. But again, it's opening day. There's always going to be some shockers in there. And then, of course, Tony Mowbray and Ipswich. Oh, let's go back a second. Let's do that one more. Of course, Tony Mowbray at the end there with Ipswich, who, of course, another late game, I think. Another late goal. Oh, not so late. But George Hurst up and running in the Championship, getting the winner, the decisive winner. Man sent off for Sunderland. Late goal for Tony Mowbray's side, 86 minutes. But ultimately, no points for them. Ipswich, again, I looked at the team sheet at the start of the game here, and I thought, why is everybody bigging these boys up? Did anything from the opening day indicate that, that Ipswich can be real boys? I know there's a rumor right now, Adam Armstrong linked to an Ipswich Town move, 8 million, which is a shocker. I don't get that.
I'd be very shocked if he made that move personally. I mean, obviously, I know there's obviously a lot of talk with Ipswich this season. Of obviously coming off the back of a really strong last third of last season, which is potentially, I suppose, why so many people are giving this team credit. And like you said, you look at the names on the team sheet, they don't really stand out. But obviously, going to the Stadium of Light and getting a 2-1 result is huge. That's definitely one of the hardest away games in the league, and obviously a massive travel for Ipswich as well, all the way up there. So I mean, definitely should be cause for excitement, really. I'm not sure if too much cause for concern for Sunderland, obviously with being 10 men, but yeah, even if George Hurst is getting your goals in this division, then you're doing something right, I suppose.
All right, and if I had to push you for the result of the weekend, who would you have said gives your seal of approval for the performance of the weekend?
I think I probably would have to go with Ipswich. I'm quite impressed that they've gone up to Sunderland. Obviously, if they keep putting results together like that, and me and you will be eating our words, I suppose, and maybe we should have been taking them more seriously. But it's definitely a statement result, that I think, anyway. Because I mean, obviously, coming off the back of squeezing into the playoffs last season, Sunderland, I'm sure they would have fancied themselves today against the new boys.
Yeah, and if I was to flip it around on me, I'd go for Millwall's result against Middlesbrough. I think both tricky, both long ways to go, both away day victories. So that's the state of play in our picks. And in fact, let's take a little look at our little personal private Super League here. I'll Super Brew 1 second. So here is our very own private Super Brew private Championship Predictor League, and I don't know if it's updated yet, but it does have, as I click on the leaderboard, it does have me half a point in front. Again, I don't know if this is bang up to date. We'll have a closer look at it and have a look at the last couple of games, which was this one here. So I predicted it 1-1, 2-1. How do I see yours? How do I see your picks? How do I see? Maybe I'll see it. Maybe I'll be updated in the morning, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure that this is correct. So we'll revisit it, of course, next week. But that's still ongoing, and I'll put your next picks in very, very soon. Of course, this is what the table looks like out of the Championship at the moment. Of course, Watford flying high, Stoke doing all right as well. Plymouth will end the season. They would want to stop the count right about now if they could, because they'd be in the playoffs. I would take it as well, because we're hanging on in there in 6th spot. But any reason for concern for maybe, of course, when you look at the bottom 3, that's a hot take right there. There's a lot of people predicting Huddersfield, Rotherham, and QPR. That could be the actual 3 that goes down at the bottom there. Middlesbrough, though, surviving at the moment on goal difference. But again, it's early. Any thoughts on that league table? It's a crazy early table.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Obviously, with the bottom 3, I don't think many people would be shocked if they were the 3 to go down, to be fair. I mean, obviously, first game, but I mean, I'm just hoping Rovers anyway. We just don't peak too early, as we always seem to do. Obviously, with a really good win, but yeah, like you said, we'd obviously take that 6th place finish right now for sure.
We would take that all day long. So moving on now, of course, we're going to build up to the next round of games shortly, but now we're going to do a little segue into what I have been calling the hot potato, not the hot potato, the hot seat, the managerial hot seat. Of course, I posed a question to Jacob prior to going live here or pressing record about who should be or who's in the hot seat already after opening day. He's got 3 of them. I've got 3 of them, and we'll talk about them right now. So we'll go with the first one, the main candidate, the obvious one. Both you and I said this. So it is, of course, Gareth Ainsworth. He has ended the season poorly with QPR, started with a whopper against Watford. And I already think he'll be gone unless things turn around miraculously. by September, international break, I think that's how early he could be on his way. Do you think he'll have more time or less time than that? That's my sort of early gamble, or like stake. I think gone by September. That's how early.
Yeah,
You?
I mean, potentially even earlier than that, to be honest, if they carry on putting out performances like that. Obviously, you know, it's a Watford v QPR, bit of a rivalry there, I assume. Obviously, them being fairly close, and to go out like that and end up going 4-0 down at half time is just short of shocking, really, is it? As I mentioned before, I don't feel like the players can be playing for the manager. You would think if they've gone out and put in that sort of result. Yeah, just really poor. And I think obviously, like I mentioned last week, I'm not sure if obviously the whole stuff with the hacker and all that were going around Twitter, and then they end up losing the game. And I think he's, you know, obviously there's nothing wrong with trying to bring something new, but I think, as I mentioned, he's become a bit of a meme, a bit of a joke from that. And some of these players want ball he has as well, because, you know, they've got Ilias Chair, Willock. I mean, this is a team that were, you know, top of the league 9 months ago or whatever under Mick Beale, weren't it? It's crazy how fast things can change in the Championship.
That's good. That's a very good point, because, you know, I don't know what has changed. I know, you know, it seemed like a settled camp under Mick Beale or whatever, you know, turn the clock back a year ago. And then, of course, there was disruption with Beale linked with Wolves. And then it was like, no, sticking with QPR, starting a project for only to Rangers to come in and disrupt the camp even further. From that point on, it's been a bit of a disaster for QPR. Critchley came in, didn't really work out for him. And then bringing in Ainsworth, who I think his playing career is loaded. Like, I think he was pretty much QPR through and through, or at least like 75-80% of it. I don't know, but so he is one of their darlings. But yeah, this is like Shearer managing Newcastle sort of stuff. You know, us taking David Dunn as a manager. You know, you think you've got his heart's in the right place, but it might. And again, I know he is a Rovers fan, but for QPR, you know, it fit for their sake, I think. Once he was hired, and again, on paper, he did okay. He did pretty good at Wickham. You know, a very, very club punching above its weight. Yeah. And I guess from our point of view, we kind of dodged a bullet here. Really, we were linked with him a couple of times. And do you think he could ever succeed at Championship level, Gareth Ainsworth?
I mean, I don't know, to be honest. Obviously, from what we've seen, you know, obviously with Wickham, they had a good season when they come up, to be fair, and they punched above the weight, as you said, and I think they found themselves quite unlucky to go down, obviously, with the whole Derby shenanigans as well, what should and could have been really with that. But it's like with obviously Nathan Jones out at Luton, can he do it away from Wickham and do it at a different club, or is it just one of those? Is he just a one club sort of man? Wouldn't be surprised to see him wind up back at Wickham if he is to lose his job. Definitely won't be surprised to see him wind up there again in the near future.
Yeah. Nathan, that's a good thing about the Nathan Jones, Luton Town, Chris Wilder, Sheffield United. He hasn't worked out for him since he left there as well. I agree with that. I think there's certain managers that fit certain clubs. Trying to, you know, for example, you would take, you know, take Nathan Jones as a prime example. You know, he could get any other job in the Championship, or put him in any other job in the Championship, and it's not a guaranteed fit. It's not a guaranteed fit. Same with JDT. You know, I think it's working out for him at Rovers. I still think JDT could work at other clubs, but not every manager fits every club. So yeah, that's a good little point there. Okay, we're going to move on to one. I don't know who it is. It's my pick. One of my picks. Okay, so I'm going on in the hot seat. It is Neil Warnock in the hot seat already. I would say already, but keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on the seat. I think he'll last longer than Ainsworth. I think Ainsworth's going to be probably the first to go, but I think Neil Warnock is not far away. He needs a couple of wins early doors. And to be honest with you, I don't think he cares. To be fair, his legacy is already in the Championship. He's renowned, and even if he was to get fired, he would probably still get another offer. But I think once that axe does come down, he will be done and dusted, and no more bounce back. He'll retire for the final time. Opening day loss to Plymouth, big one, that one. And again, you said it in before. Plymouth will be looking at Huddersfield as that's a result. That was a 6-pointer already, an early door 6-pointer. Huddersfield would have been looking at that the same, thinking we've got to get a result here, and that's already adding to the concern, I think, for Huddersfield fans. New owners as well; they will want some success. You haven't seen any backing already for Warnock. I don't think the new owners are going to give him much money at the minute because he is a short-term vision. He's an old guy. He's not gonna be here for 5 years. So we've not seen any investment from Huddersfield owners. So I think, but that's the problem though, that if they are going to back the club this campaign, they're going to do it now with an old guy manager. I just don't see them doing that. I think this could be a whole right rat's nest for Huddersfield I think this disappointment's actually quite bad. Because if the new owners, they're not going to back him because he ain't going to be here that long anyway, even if he is a success. So I think he's in the hot seat. I think he's going to be one of the top 5 coaches to be booted from the Championship one way or another. What are your thoughts on Warnock? Do you side with me, or do you think he will last the course?
I think you made some good points, especially with the new owners. Obviously, new owners come in all the time and usually get rid of the manager because it isn't their man, sort of thing. And yeah, I think obviously Warnock did wonders to keep Huddersfield in the Championship last season. They looked dead and buried at one point, really, didn't they? But I mean, I think it was probably if it's not their man, and like you say, maybe that's why they're not. Why they're being so tight with the purse strings, probably would have been the right choice to move him on, obviously, in the summer, and just say thank you for keeping us up. We're going to go for a long-term sort of appointment here. And I think, like you say, obviously he isn't going to be sticking around for that long, is he? But I mean, whether the owners haven't sacked him to try and keep face, sort of thing, obviously with him obviously doing wonders to keep Huddersfield up, how would the fans have reacted if they were to sack him? It obviously would have been a bit unfair, to say the least, but maybe it would have been better for Warnock to just say, look, I've kept him up, I'm gonna move on now and let someone try and make something out of this team. I don't know, obviously I think if he would to get sacked, it would be more for the reasons you're saying, not their man, sort of thing, fancy a project manager, because they haven't made any signings, they've lost some players, haven't they? So there's only so much you can really expect from this team, and as you mentioned, it definitely should have been a case of we go to Plymouth and we do not lose sort of game, because it's a huge result for Plymouth, that you feel. But obviously, I mean, he needs backing, doesn't he, if they want to try and stay up this season.
Yeah, and he did do. He's of course notorious for his successes in the Championship, but he's also notorious for his survival jobs. He did like Huddersfield last year. He did it with Rotherham and walked away. He walked away from Rotherham. Success, smile on his face, reputation sky high for doing just that. He might have missed a beat here. He should have probably walked when he was at the end of the season, because I don't know. This might have even been his second stint as Huddersfield manager. I'm not sure, but it would have left a great taste. Pardon the expression, but great taste for Huddersfield Town. Thinking, oh yes, Warnock saved the day. Now he's putting his reputation on the line in Huddersfield's eyes anyway. If he can't get it right, but hey, Carabao Cup this week, chance for him to bounce back, chance for him to make me eat my words a little bit. But we're going to move on to one of your picks for a hot seat, and that is Matt Taylor, Rotherham United, of course. Hopefully, back-to-back defeats in the league. That's what we want to see, because he's up against Rovers next. And I can't really remember. I had a quick looked at it. I think they have a tricky Carabao Cup tie up ahead. But why is he in your under your microscope? While I try and find this Carabao Cup draw, you can tell me why he's on your list.
Yeah, I just think obviously Rotherham are going to have a bit of a tough time this season, and naturally, obviously, with that, the manager obviously comes under some sort of scrutiny. I think obviously there's some decent managers knocking about in League One who would be happy to maybe take the Rotherham job. It's not the most attractive of jobs, obviously, but they did manage to stay up last season. But yeah, I think obviously that opening result against Stoke definitely made me think that for sure. Even before the Stoke game, I probably would have said he would be one of them, just because I do anticipate him to go down this season. So with obviously that, I don't think they'll be scared to shake it up and probably bring in a different name. It's not that big of a club to get a particularly attractive name, I suppose, but yeah, I just don't know really with Rotherham. I don't know how they managed to stay up last season, but yeah, I think this season's probably going to be the year they go down.
They could, and I think if they were to do that, they could, because I was over the summer, it looked like, and again, I touched on him already. He might not work, might not fit, but Chris Wilder was linked with the Reading job in League One, and he is a kind of a Yorkshire lad, and I think this could be a job for Wilder. I know his stock is taking a massive tumble. Again, it might not be the right club, but it could be an opportunity for them to go for a manager like that. But Matt Taylor, young coach, did okay at Exeter. This is a tough club to succeed, or tough club to get something out of. We saw Valérien Ismaël do a crazy job at Barnsley. You need some sort of like that, some sort of performance or a season defining, or an epic sort of season to really cause some earthquakes. But I don't think he's the right man. And I agree with you. He could be, and again, but if he does go down with the ship like a captain on a Titanic, could he do what Paul Warne did and bring the club back up again? Is he too weak for the Championship as a whole? Do you think he's just not a good fit for Rotherham, or can they continue that yo-yo mentality with him at the helm?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think it's as much an indictment as him. I just think
Club
Rotherham as a
itself.
club. Yeah, I just think obviously they're gonna struggle. I think, and obviously with that, just the manager usually gets moved on, doesn't he? Obviously, they've sold their main man to Luton. Not really replaced him. So it's just, obviously it's going to be a struggle, you feel. So, when you're letting your best players go, and obviously we just know Rotherham, they're not going to break the bank, are they? I think it's not an indictment on him, but as you say, managers go down and come back up. If they think he's the right man and he can do that, maybe like a Dyche at Burnley, I suppose, coming down and sticking with the club, getting him straight back up. Sometimes that could be the best thing to do.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to another one of your picks, because I'm saving my next one because it's a clanger last. But we're going to go with in the hot seat is Ryan Lowe at Preston North End. Opening day result against Bristol City. The opening day result against Bristol City, not too shabby, a draw. Why have you put this handsome wee fella in the hot seat?
Yeah, my first two picks were pretty easy, I thought, and then I was scratching my head a bit for a third. But as I mentioned last week, I'm not sure how many fans are on his side really at Preston. I think some of the comments at the end of last season about how they where Preston were finishing, how it was a really good season in terms of their budget and whatnot, but they were where they finished. And I think he just rubbed more than a few Preston fans from what I saw anyway on Twitter, rubbed them the wrong way. And it only takes, a bad bit of a bad patch, and then the fans are on top of him, and then it's just that much easier to move the manager on when you don't have the fans on side. Like I said, a hard third pick, but yeah, I'm just not sure how much they like him, to be honest. A decent first result away at Bristol for sure. Definitely would take that as a Rovers fan going down there to Bristol. Like I said, they could be dark horses this year with Alex Scott and whatnot. So definitely a decent first result. But yeah, just obviously no one. I mean, if JDT were to come out and talk about Rovers and start saying that, we did so well to miss out on the playoffs, it would rub me the wrong way, because obviously you don't want that. I mean, obviously you got to compete in terms of you can financially wise, and obviously Blackburn and Preston, we don't have the biggest purse strings, but yeah, and just a hard one, but I think he could be if they go for a bad patch.
And if you were to cherry pick a month or a time of the year, a season, where do you think that could happen? The axe could fall. Do you think it's something in the near future, as in September, October, or something closer to like the festive? Because he is one of them sort of Marmite characters, and he can. Some people think he's, the bee's knees, and some people will think he's like, what's he talking about? But I saw a couple of, sort of press things that he did, and it's not very pleasant from an outsider. But if you had to push or earmark a part of the season, when do you think likely he could be under pressure?
I think if I was gonna guess, I'd go like November, December. I think if Preston find themselves, just above the relegation spots, or lower mid-table sort of thing, I think Preston are usually obviously a club pushing for the playoffs at the very least. They're usually in and around there, aren't they? Obviously they were very hot and cold last season. Obviously they finished the season fairly strongly to find themselves somewhat in the playoff race, I suppose, going into the last 5 games. Come out of nowhere really, because I never would have thought that. When the World Cup was on, for sure. But yeah, I think I'd probably go November, December if they're dwindling a little bit and not really going anywhere.
Yeah. So you would imagine the hierarchy are anticipating them to repeat sort of similar sort of season performance, like as you said, like they kind of season in season out are in and amongst it, but they're not like major contenders. So if they are having a bit of a nightmare, not really moving, stuck into those like 15th, 16th, 17th kind of spots with no real momentum, that could be the time. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, he's had a couple seasons there now, hasn't he? He's had enough time to really start to make things tick at Preston. So you would think this season would be a season they kick on really and really be a solid playoff contender, where they're not usually one of the out and out, obviously favourites to kind of get in there, are they? They're just kind of there or thereabouts.
Yeah. Okay, my next one is a wild card, but I'm putting not that guy. That's the same you guy did. This guy, Mark Robbins. I'm putting Mark Robbins, Coventry City governor, gaffer, in the hot seat. Okay, opening day, not great. Spent a lot of money. I know they got a lot of money, but they spent a lot of money on Sims. They spent a lot of money on Haji Wright, American international striker. So there's a lot. They've invested to go for it this season. Haji Wright is not here to play League One football, as is Ellis Sims. He thinks he's probably better than the Championship. So those two guys are strikers that have got to be performing, scoring goals or creating headlines, whatever. From opening day, again, we're going on our opening day, and Ellis Sims, didn't look the greatest in his first debut, but up against Leicester, I know they're a credible team, and they're going to be up there or what have you. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Mark Wright. I know he's probably God's gift to Coventry City fans, drag him from the wilderness. He probably has a few extra lives up his pocket, but the board will probably see it differently with the amount of money the team has invested. And again, they're not vesting cheap. They're not invested on little peanut signings. They've not just the strikers. They've gone deep elsewhere. And again, on the flip side, they have brought in some players on the wise free transfers. But heavily invested on strikers that are going to score goals. I don't think they're done yet. I think they're going to be bringing in a couple more players before the window shuts. So he's got to deliver. He's got to at least repeat playoffs again. And again, from the opening day loss, I don't know what their schedule looks like for the next few weeks, but if results don't tick in the right soon, early, having invested over 15, nearly 20 million on strike force, I think he could be one of the early door sackings in the Championship. What do you think about my wild card right there?
Definitely a wild card. I mean, he's part of the furniture really at Coventry. He's been there so long. Obviously, he left to go to Huddersfield and then come back, didn't he? Left him in League Two or something like that, weren't it? But yeah, obviously they had a really good season last year. And as I mentioned before, they've really rolled the dice and they have to get it right, like you're saying. If it isn't looking good in the next couple of months, it's time they can't really afford to waste, I suppose. Obviously, it is a bit of like a Derby scenario. Derby heavily invested, didn't make the Prem, and now look at them. You know what I mean? They're probably going to be stuck down there in League One for a good few years. So yeah, it could quite easily happen for sure. I mean, if they want to bring someone in who's maybe a bigger name sort of thing, maybe got more experience and a track record of getting teams out of this division, it's definitely something you could see happening if it isn't going right. But I mean, obviously the fans, like you're saying, he's probably God's gift over there with the fans. So could really rub some of the fans the wrong way, but they've heavily invested, so it has to go right this season.
Yeah, I've not chatted with any Coventry fans about, what they think about this, but it's definitely a question I'd like to pose the fan base. It's like, what's the minimal expectation this season? Because even if they do finish 12th or something like that, while spending that kind of money, I think Sims and Hadji Wright anyway have been, they're probably under their understanding is probably we should be serious contenders, at least for playoffs, 8th, probably the minimum they would, because I just don't think they would tolerate as the players of that quality and that kind of value to finish mid-table will be a slap in their face. But hey, they could turn it around and, project, and it could be a stuttered first season with these kind of a new era maybe. But again, and also, another bit of fuel to my claim here is that if Gustavo Hamer also is sold, another one of the key faces for Coventry City, a driving force in that midfield, if he was to go, and also them heavily investing, and it doesn't work out, I think there's too financially. It could be a bit of and again, with Coventry's board back room, they're not really the most transparent, again, with the ownership of the stadium and all. I don't know if that's their stadium anymore. I don't even know, because I'm not a fan. I don't keep up to date with their goings, but I just feel they're backing him under the impetus of them at least challenging in what is probably the most difficult championship season for a while, a good 10 years. This is a heavy duty league this year. And, and again, Coventry really on paper, when you look at it, they're not in my eyes, I don't think they're the top 10. When you look at their team, the individual, I know I'm going from an individual standpoint here. I don't think they have a top 10 ranked team in the Championship for individuals. I still think Watford's, the Norwiches, the West Broms, all these other clubs. And again, I don't think Rovers are in the top 10 of individuals. So, I think it's a big ask, a lot of responsibility on Ellis Sims, and he has to get goal. He has to start scoring early, look at
comes with that price tag,
definitely. Again, it's, when we were looking and the rumors about Rovers looking at them, the price tag was around about 3 million. Yeah, that's what we were, banded around. And how the hell? The reason why it got inflated is because they had all that money from the sale of Gayorquez or however you say it. Suddenly Everton inflated their price, and Coventry, they bent over and they said, "All right, we'll take it. We'll take that. The price again. It could all work out. I'll look like a fool, but I'm going for it." I don't think it'll be an early sacking. I'd say a December sacking. This smells like a December thing, just in time for the new transfer window. If shit's going wrong and they're down there 14th or 15th, heavily invested in those players, they'll be like, we got to do something here.
They've not spent that money to finish mid-table, have they? So they definitely need to be at least finishing in the playoffs, you would think. But I mean, I've anticipated them to not have a great season this year. I do think they'll finish mid-table. I just question whether there's going to be a bit of a hangover from last season, because that was their chance really last season. Such a big opportunity, and obviously they're losing. They've lost Gyökeres, who's proven 20+ goals in this league, and if they lose him, that's a quality player at this level. And I'm just not sure if Ellis Sims is all that, really. I think 8 million's a ridiculous price for someone who played half a season at Sunderland and, scored a few goals. But if you're buying someone for 8 million, you're wanting at least a proven, 15, 20 goal player at this level, in my mind, anyway.
It could all be egg on my face as they turn back around against Middlesbrough. Again, the fixture list's not pleasant for Coventry straight into this one, as of course they take on another contender also looking to bounce back after an opening day loss. So kicking us all off next week, I think that's the early game. Let me just double check. But I think that's the early kickoff on, and they say never back the early kickoff for next week, Saturday, 12:30, I think. So, of course, from what we talked about, maybe your initial thoughts. Both sides looking to bounce back. Where does your mind go when you see this result or this fixture?
Yeah, I think obviously it's a game that Middlesbrough need to bounce back from, really, but not going to an easy place for Coventry. I think obviously, like you're saying, it's imperative Sims gets up and running. I mean, as we've just mentioned, the price tag, the pressure can really build, especially if, just look at Diaz, really, when, we got him in for, was it 7 million or so, and just game after game, you're not scoring. And then, what was it, 2 goals in 2 seasons for us before you become Brereton Diaz, I suppose. But it just build that pressure. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think Sims is obviously a lot more mature player than Brereton was at that point. But it'd be an interesting game, this for sure. 2 good sides from last year anyway, but we'll just have to see how it pans out.
But pushing you now, scoreline. Hopefully you remember. What you got? What's your prediction for Coventry against Middlesbrough? You remember?
I don't.
I don't well, I'll remind you. You've gone with a cheeky 1-1 draw. I've gone with a 2-1 win. So maybe eat my own words right here, right now. I've gone with a Coventry win. Whether it is Haji Wright, whether it is Gustavo Hamer, whether it is Sims scoring, someone has to do it. And I think they will bounce back initially anyway from the opening day loss and get a result. You've opted for the draw. Let's move on to the next one. Birmingham City. They opened up with a draw, as did Leeds United. What's your initial take or expectations for this game? Do you expect Leeds to come out of the blocks all guns blazing after a last-minute.com equaliser? What are your thoughts about the St Andrews affair here, Birmingham against Leeds?
Yeah, it might have been a bit of a reality check, that one, for Leeds. Obviously, they've still got a lot of their big players, which some of them you feel will be probably moving on. So they need to take advantage, really, of the time they've got with these players now before, obviously, they get moved on. I think, obviously, a decent result for Birmingham that they got. So should be an interesting game, but I do think Leeds might be a bit too much for Birmingham.
According to this, you have a 2-2 draw. Is that right?
Yeah, I think. I think yeah, obviously, I think there's goals in this Leeds side. Birmingham are at home, so should be a good contest anyway. But yeah, I think we'll have. I mean, Leeds just drew the last game 2-2, so odds on it happening again are probably slim. But I
You
suppose
never know. You never know. What I'll do, I'll reveal first, and then we can talk about it so you can remember. You can see it. Okay, so Birmingham, I go on with a 1-0 win for Birmingham. Again, Leeds, I think adjustment. There's an adjustment period, I think, for them in the Championship. I think it'll take a month before the real Leeds or the realization that they're back in the second tier here before they start to really click it again. And again, maybe once that transfer window slam shuts, the real Leeds will be like, okay, we're here now. We got to roll with it. We got to face our punishment and try to get moving in the right direction. So I've gone with a 1-0 for Birmingham again. I think it's a realistic pick. I think it's a credible one. Next up, we have Cardiff, who opened up with that draw against Leeds, up against everyone's favourite to go down, QPR. You've gone with a big 3-0 win for Cardiff. Why is that then? Because QPR that bad or Cardiff are that good?
I think it's more the QPR being that bad. I think, like I mentioned before, I'm just questioning whether these players are playing for the manager. I mean, it's not ideal that they're on the road again, going to Cardiff. Not the best of places to go either. Quite the journey. So yeah, they could bounce back in this game. Really, have the tails up after a tonking really off Watford. Which would be the response you want to see. But if they do get smashed again, then I think the writing's on the wall, really, if they're not going to put up any fight. I think if they go to Cardiff and come out with a draw, I think they can be quite happy with that. But yeah, I mean, Cardiff getting a decent result this weekend, so they're showing that they've got some quality anyway. So yeah, I think it should be a pretty easy win, and I needed to put a big result in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm looking at the starting 11 there for QPR. It's a pretty decent strength side. They got Begovic between us. The Dyke started. Cher as well was involved. Matey boy Willett came off the bench, so it's not like they were stripped bare. So I agree. I think if they come out of this without at least scoring a goal, conceding 7 in your eyes anyway over the course of 2 games would be a major concern. There would still be time left to kind of fix it in the track, and they could still do that. And again, it's all telling. It's very telling, these early games, especially with questionable managers like Ainsworth, like maybe even the guy at Rotherham, perhaps Huddersfield Town. If the board are going to back them before the window shuts, then these first 2-3 games, before the window shuts is paramount, because if you're going to bring a new coach in, they would want their own players. So after this, I know it's very early, ridiculously early. QPR are a bit weird owners, so they could be that drastic to pull the trigger straight off and bring someone else in. Maybe I don't know, Nathan Jones or what have you. Okay, so Millwall against Bristol City at the Den. Again, Millwall opening day win, big win over Middlesbrough. You've gone with a 2-1 win over Bristol City. I've gone with the draw. Is the Den the fortress that it's going to be all season? Is it going to be a fortress this year?
Yeah, I think the Den's always a fortress, really. And I mean, as you said before, I think really impressive result, and could be result of the weekend, really, going up to the Riverside and getting that win. So if they can do that all the way up in Middlesbrough, there should be no reason why they shouldn't be able to dispatch of Bristol. Obviously, I think Bristol will be a bit upset only managing to get a point off Preston. I think that's one you would look at on paper as a Bristol fan if you're wanting to push for playoffs this year and say we need to be taking 3 points at home against a Preston side that it hasn't really done much business of note, to my knowledge, anyway. And yeah, I think so. I think Millwall, obviously decent result, and they should do the business really at the Den as they usually do.
Yeah, I did opt for the draw. I think Bristol City starting okay. Again, everyone has them in and amongst the mid to top end. I think they're just going to be pretty stubborn wicket this early doors so far. Let's take a look at the Russell Martin derby. I'm calling this one. Of course, Russell Martin, formerly of Norwich, and I thought he was trying to do a rehearsal for the Norwich job. I thought they were going to sack Wagner towards the back end of that, or the very end of last season. So I imagined him to be the manager of Norwich, and maybe he still does, because I think former player there. He's again idolized by Norwich City. So I think he is Norwich City manager in waiting at some point. But of course, he would. Southampton are definitely the more stronger team, so I guess that's probably why he's their manager right now and not Norwich. Again, everyone, especially Sky. What's the nice way to say it? Give him all the plaudits, Russell Martin and Southampton, how they're playing and la la la. We heard it last year with Burnley. Can we compare them? Can we compare this Southampton team with Martin and Vinny Company's Burnley? Can we compare them? Are they similar? Are they going to run away with it, or was it just one of those days for them against Sheffield Wednesday? And what will happen? You've got a 2-1 win here for Southampton. Are they as good as everyone else is making out?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think obviously Sky Sports were waxing lyricals about Vincent Kompany and Burnley last season, the style of football and whatnot, and the only team that could really compare with those possession numbers was Russell Martin's Swansea side. Obviously, the big difference being at Southampton is the quality of players he's got to be able to do that style of football, which was the difference last season between Burnley and Swansea. When you've got that quality of player and you're playing that type of football, you can just frustrate the opposition and make those key decisive passes to cut a defence up and not just sideways and backwards all the time. I mean, obviously Sheffield Wednesday, a lot of people have them in their predictions to go down, so not the hardest of opening games for Southampton. This will be a real test to see where they are, and if they do get a win against Norwich, it is at St Mary's, so obviously that does help, but that would definitely be a challenge and be a much more a bigger statement anyway than going away to Sheffield Wednesday for me.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. If they turn up and turn over Norwich in similar sort of style, then maybe the rest of the league has to really give Southampton some credit. Of course, 2 big winners this past weekend on opening day. Lock horns at the Vicarage Road. It's Watford. It's Plymouth. You have gone with a 2-0 win. I've gone with a 3-0 win. I'm always been a big admirer of Valérien Ismaël, and I want to see him do well, in some sort of way. Not really, but kinda. Again, two of the big hitters clashing. Again, if Plymouth were to get something here, then maybe they could be the real deal, or at least an actual championship side instead of a League One side trying to fake it as a championship side. But their first real test, I think, definitely a difficult one for them on the road. But both you and I nailed on 3 points for Watford.
Yeah, I think obviously they've probably gone from one of the easier games they'll have this season on paper against Huddersfield at home to probably one of the hardest away games they'll have this season, going away to Vicarage Road. If they get anything at Vicarage Road, I'll be impressed, especially after what Watford have just done to QPR. Could definitely see something similar, to be honest, with Plymouth going there. But I guess we'll see. I think if they turn up there, Plymouth, and manage to turn over Watford, then that will definitely raise a few heads for sure, and could maybe then start to see them maybe challenging in this, maybe for a top 6, as some people think they will have a good season. I don't see it personally, but I guess we'll see how this game goes. Definitely a real challenge, the first challenge for sure.
Yeah, a chance for Neil Warnock to do one over the big boys. Leicester City go into their place. Of course, Leicester with I don't know about. I'm not sure. I didn't see the game itself, but an okay result. Well, a good result, but I'm not sure how the performance was against Coventry. But they're going to take on Huddersfield at whatever they call it, McAlpine, John Smith's, whatever it is these days. You've gone with an away 1-0 win for Leicester. I've gone with a 3-1 win for Leicester. Again, ex-Premier League club flexing their muscles early doors. No stuttered start, no nightmare beginning like Leeds, perhaps. You would, they didn't lose, but it was just not great. But Leicester up and running already last week. Business as usual this weekend.
Yeah, I think Huddersfield will sit in. I think it might be a similar sort of game to when we went there last season. Just really frustrate us. See Leicester maybe nicking a goal and then just probably dominate the ball from there. Let Huddersfield come out, try and give them a game sort of thing, and just knock it about. And Huddersfield won't want to come out and do that, and probably still will sit back somewhat, even being 1-0 down, just because obviously the quality Leicester have on the pitch. But yeah, I think it'll be a frustrating game, and I can see Leicester just scabbing a 1-0 win. Personally, I think that is just what Warnock's frame of mind will be going into this game.
Yeah, I'm going for a little bit more joyful for Leicester. I think they will score a few goals, but it could be one of those tight ones. I do anticipate for my scoreline. I think Huddersfield will take the lead, and we'll try to sit back, but then I imagine the quality of Leicester will come through. And again, once that 2-1 goes in, heads will drop, and then Leicester will make it look pretty on the score sheet. Where are we? We're going to go to Hull City up against Sheffield Wednesday. Look at that. Clean's prediction there. Everyone's gone for a 1-1 draw. I'd say from both you and I, 2 points drop from Hull City. Again, a lot of people tipping them to do well. This should be one of those, especially from, statistical point of view. Sheffield Wednesday, League One team-ish right now, transitioning into a championship club. But yeah, Hull City with their fruitful investment on the hot shot youngsters, Liam Delap, Aaron Connolly, 2 points dropped, I think. But a good result, a good point for Sheffield Wednesday. They will be the ones smiling at the end of the final whistle if this was to come true, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, 2 Yorkshire clubs, so it should be a tasty affair, you'd think. But yeah, I mean, obviously, as I've mentioned before, a lot of people are tipping Wednesday to be the whipping boys, just with everything that's gone on with Darren Moore and whatnot. Don't see it playing out like that myself, and I do think I don't think Hull are going to be dark horses. So yeah, I think Wednesday will go there and see out a draw. I think Delap's definitely one to look out for. I think if anyone was going to be scoring it'd be him for Hull. And if they do go on and beat Sheffield Wednesday, I think he'll have a big part to play in that. He is quality. But I guess we'll see. It'll be interesting. Obviously, they had that really tough game against Southampton, which you can't really look into too much, just because if you can't get on the ball and whatnot, you can't really invoke yourselves on the opposition. But I think this will be an interesting game to see what Sheffield Wednesday will be getting this season. It's a decent challenge in Hull, isn't it?
It is, of course. So we covered 2 of the new promoted teams there. The third, Ipswich Town, with an opening day massive win. Again, one of the results of the weekend against Sunderland. They host Stoke City, of course, coming off of the back of their big win over Rotherham United. Both contrasting scorelines here. You've gone with a win for Ipswich. I've gone with a win for Stoke. Elaborate on your victory for Ipswich.
Yeah, I just think, as I mentioned, I thought I was really impressed, obviously, with the Sunderland result. It's Portman Road, isn't it? They play at, I think, Ipswich. Back there, I mean, the Stoke result, as I said, I'm not looking into it too much because it's Rotherham, because they had 10 men. So I think obviously this is another game where we'll see the real Stoke, I suppose, if they go there and get a 2-1 win like you're saying. I think definitely should be ones to look out for maybe this season. That would be a good result. obviously with all the hype Ipswich are getting as well at the minute. But I think, yeah, maybe I'm underestimating Stoke a little bit, but I just think it'll be same old Stoke for me this season. I don't anticipate them to do too much, so I think a decent result for Ipswich at home.
It is a bit of a coin flip. It could go either way, I think, but I'm going with Stokes. Yeah, it was 10 men for the most part. I think probably for the whole get on the majority of the game, but the new signing is up and running already. Couple of goals. He'll fancy his chances here. And yeah, I'm not believing the hype. I could believe the hype for Ipswich if, I think if they're going to make some mega signings like that Ipswich Adam Armstrong business, if they're going to dump 8 million with this new exciting young coach for a realistic project, then maybe. But I just don't see. I looked at Sam Morsey, Christian Walton. I don't even know who Christian Walton was, but Christian Walton's out. Their number one goalkeeper, of course, we know him from time gone by. George Hurst, yeah, okay, he scored, but I'm not a big believer in this Ipswich Town project. I could be a believer if they are going to dump some signings very soon, but I think this will be a rude awakening, and yeah, maybe a little bit of spotlight on Alex Neil and Stoke City. Next up, of course, Mowbray goes to Deepdale, take on Preston. Both of us backing Mowbray to get something out of this. You gone tasty 2-0 win over Lowe's boys? Could be already cracks beginning to show early doors.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think the tails will be up after losing at home to Ipswich. I think that's a massive blow. And I mean, obviously they went there last game of last season, didn't they, and got a result at Deepdale, didn't they, Sunderland? So they've proved they can go there and do the business. I'm sure they'll turn up in their numbers again. It were ridiculous the amount that went down for that last game, weren't it, last season? But yeah, I think Sunderland, like I said, tails will be up, and I think they need to go to Preston. I think it'll be a good statement anyway to show that they are the real business this year. If they do go to Preston, get a 2-0 win, it's not an easy place to go by any means.
No, it is not an easy. I've gone with it. I've also backed up Sunderland with a 1-0 win. They do need a response early, and yeah, Mowbray's also one of those. I know he's probably had the big say in the Bradley Dack transfer to that. So there looks like the board are going to give Mowbray another year, because there was question marks about his future, even though he did a fantastic job getting them in the playoffs regardless. But he could be, from reading into that end of last season, it shows that young, hungry chairman or whatever, yeah, he's got his eyes on the prize. He wants to see development and progression of this Sunderland side quick. So yeah, a couple of dodgy defeats, and he could also start to be the spotlight could be onto him. But at the minute, it looks like he's got their backing with the arrival of Bradley Dack, who was not involved at all in this game. So I think he's still a little bit fitness-wise out of that. But I have gone with a win. Off to Rotherham. Are you off to Rotherham?
I'm still undecided, but I'll have to say I'm going to check the prices out and whatnot, and maybe make a last-minute decision leading up to it. But yeah.
But it is, of course, at the New York Stadium. Rotherham looking to bounce back. Rovers, of course, having a hangover from the last time we were down there. But again, both you and I going for a away day win. Signs of optimism for Rovers, despite some looming clouds. And I think if you've looked online today, there's maybe some reassuring signs not so far away, with at least the goalkeeper coming in, potentially even a centre back. And even a rumour for another wide attacking Englishman, or Britishman, Scotsman. But I don't know if you've seen that, but they're out there. So the grey gloominess that was lingering over Ewood seems to be shifting. Will it shift? Well, you've picked. It will shift a little bit further for us with this result.
Yeah, I think in true Rovers fashion, I think we'll start the season well, as we usually do, and I'm just hoping we just don't tail off as we also usually do. I think we've probably got Rotherham at a good time. I think, like you said, obviously they've lost a man against Stoke, so that could benefit in that way. sounded like JDT saying in that way. But yeah, I think obviously after last season in particular, getting an absolute tonking, I think we need to get back to Rotherham and get a result. Would I take a draw? I'm not too sure. I think it's one of the away days you've got to look at and you think we want to be challenging this season. We've got to go there and get a win. I do anticipate them to be down there, Rotherham. So hopefully got them at the right time. Obviously with a tonking off Stoke, but equally their tails could be up after that game. And it goes one of two ways, doesn't it? After you get smashing like that, it could obviously just spiral. But yeah, I think obviously we're at this moment in time we are somewhat lacking up front still. I don't anticipate Marconde to be scoring every single game. If he gets to double figures this season, he'll be doing really well. And Leonard, I don't know. He missed a couple big chances after his goal, but yeah, I think we'll snag one. I think it'd be good for Smodics to maybe get off the mark. So yeah, I think a 1-0 kind of sit on it sort of result for me.
Yeah, I've got just 2-1. I think it's going to be tight. We do owe them a bit of a beating because they did smash us last time around. I hope. Well, just to kind of, I just see it being just like West Brom. Maybe a couple of goals in front, they get one back. Nervy last 20 minutes. So that's how we roll at the minute. So moving on to the final one, the Baggies hoping to bounce back against Swansea. You've gone with a 2-0 win. I've gone with a 1-0 win. Of course, see who gets it right and who gets it wrong or what have you. But did you see enough yesterday to see that there's a team in that Baggies West Brom team?
I didn't, to be honest. I weren't impressed at all. But I just have a feeling they'll bounce back. I think I do rate Corberan. So maybe just slow out the blocks. Obviously away from home, where it's not an easy place to come to. Ewood at all, to be fair. Just weren't really enough chances created from West Brom. I think they are missing DK a lot for sure. Jed Wallace I thought had a really poor game, and he's a quality player at this level. But yeah, just every time he was shooting, he was just getting nowhere with it. Really, more of a crossover the ball, isn't he? Really, but yeah, I think at home they should create a lot more chances and should put Swansea to the sword, I reckon.
I agree with you. The majority of your comments there. I thought that Asante fella, Thomas Asante, I thought he was a handful, causing all kinds of problems, but no end product. But definitely missing a striker. They've got that Josh Major coming through. Daryl DK eventually comes back, so those guys should get goals. And Asante, of course, well, he can score. I'm not saying he'll score buckets, but he's definitely more of a problem man. Like he's still youngish, big unit. I think he's a little. They got him on a good deal as well. I like him a lot. But I'm glad he left his shooting boots at home. But so that wraps up the pricks, and of course I'll put them in the calculator, and then we'll see who comes out shining next week. Of course, if let me check this out. No, it's fine. If we get them right, my table is on the left here. Yours is on the right. I have Watford top. You have Watford top. You have Southampton second. I have Stoke. And in the playoffs, both have Blackburn Rovers, which is great. Of course, going down, both have exactly the same, in the same shape and same goal difference, give or take. Huddersfield, Rotherham, and QPR going down. So. Of course, that'll wrap up match number 2. Of course, looking forward to Rovers back in action. If you could, what are your hopes and dreams for this coming match day? Or what should we be looking out for? Do you think, can Plymouth make it 2 wins? 2 with a tricky one against Watford. What's your main takeaway or your last minute thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a few interesting games for sure, just to see where certain teams will be at this season. I think, as we mentioned, as you've just mentioned, Plymouth's going to be an interesting one. If they get a result, then I may have to start thinking differently about them. Sheffield Wednesday away at Hull, a good test, but yeah, not up against a newly relegated side from the Premier League with, James Ward-Prowse in the midfield, England international and all that. So, yeah, definitely be good to see where certain teams are at. Also, obviously Rotherham as well at home, and won't be playing with 10 men. Be interesting to see how they do against us, and obviously a team that, they should be fairly confident after what they did to us there last season anyway. And with Rovers as well, I think, our away record wasn't great last season. So to see how we do on the road, and like I said, I think this is one of the away days we have to look at and think it's got to be 3 points this if we want to be pushing for the playoffs this season.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a winnable game. But again, it is the championship, so anything can happen. But I appreciate your time again, Jacob. Again, we'll be back next week for match number 3. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to smash that thumbs up. Smash the little bell. Of course, check us out on Twitter. We might even be on TikTok this week. So we'll check those babies out.